qualify them for the sprint race. We've got a 12-lap sprint race to be completed in 18 minutes. So I would expect to see we're probably not doing that many laps. I think it's more going to be so it's an 18-lap heat. We're going to have a 5-minute warm-up, just let them cool down, and then a 30-minute feature race after that. That will be where the points are won. So the sprint race, you're going to want to be careful because that is to qualify you for the main race. So Trev, so we're looking at Stuart Brown at the moment. Have you driven Mount Panorama, Trev, before? How did you get on with the track?
I have. I actually took part in the massive endurance.
Oh yes, you did.
Yeah, and managed to drive a 0x stint during the night, actually. So
excellent work. I can't claim to have ever driven a 0x round Bathurst. It's one of my bugbear tracks personally. So it's going to be impressive to watch the guys tonight. See how well they do. One thing I have noticed is that Gavin Halls doesn't appear to currently be in the session, which means we've got pretty much a straight shootout between Mark Baxter-Jones and Dan Batty for the championship. Of course, that's not the only thing we're interested in tonight, because obviously all the drivers here are fighting for their positions. Hopefully we can have a look at the championship standings in a second. While we're waiting for that, here we go. So as you can see, we've got Mark Baxter-Jones is in the lead on 700 points. That is quite a big gap back to Dan Batty, but there's 150 points available for the win, and it's double points tonight. So that is not the biggest gap in the world, which feels odd to say for a 73-point gap. 300 points for the win tonight, and Michael Hornby in 4th, and I suppose Chris Wally in 5th, Johnny Allier in 6th. If something happens to Baxter-Jones and to Dan Batty, they're not completely out of the picture here tonight.
Certainly not.
We've not currently had anyone set a time yet. It's quite a long lap here at Bathurst. We can perhaps have a look at if I just go and have a look at the practice times we saw earlier. Baxter-Jones was our quickest driver by 0.6 of a second. He managed a 2:05. So actually these drivers are going to struggle to get their third lap in the 8 minutes. I'm not sure if they actually will. We've got 4 minutes left of the session with no time set yet, although they're all still making their way round. It's been a lot cleaner than I'm used to, so I'm normally an F3 or an open wheel driver. If we ever visit these kinds of circuits, it's not clean. It'll be interesting to see how well the chaps manage tonight. I mean, we've been at Long Beach, we've been at Belle Isle, Detroit, and I actually think certainly at Detroit, that was much cleaner for a difficult technical street circuit than you'd perhaps expect. So I would like to think our drivers tonight are going to have more of the same. What do you think, Trev?
No, very much tend to agree with you. Being a new track, the Chicago track as well, obviously some people wouldn't have raced it as many times as they have in comparison to Bathurst, even Long Beach actually. I don't think Long Beach is one of the most popular tracks on there, but I definitely see a lot of races on there. But so far it looks like we've got Johnny Ehler smashing the time board at the moment here. And Mark Baxter-Jones is just a smidge behind him. That is very close. It looks
like they're trading fastest sectors as well. They've both got 2 fastest sectors each, with James Armstrong and Michael Hornby also going quite quickly in terms of individual sectors. But of course, it's not just about being able to do one sector quickly here. It's about being able to do an entire lap cleanly and quickly. And of course, if you tap a wall, that invalidates your qualifying lap. But the advantage our drivers are going to have this evening is that they don't have to worry if they mess up qualifying. They've still got the sprint race to try and get themselves a better grid position for the final race of the evening. So we can see on the left there we've got the interval, so it's pretty close at the top. We've got Hornby, Allier, Baxter-Jones, the 3 there. They've consistently been near the top, as has Dan Batty, who's currently in 4th. We're currently with Johnny Allier as he comes down the mountain. We're going through Skyline and the Dipper, and we're going to be approaching Forest's Elbow here. Crucial corner as we go on to one of the very long straights. You want to make sure you've got the best possible exit, because you will lose out so much time if you're not taking this straight at the absolute maximum speed you can. And look how gorgeous that Porsche car looks as it's coming down the straight towards the chase. Hopefully we don't see Johnny Allier try and do the jump. We can save that for the end of the race. And one other thing that's worth noting for our viewers this evening is they are operating a rule, especially for Bathurst. If you spin on the mountain, so between turn 2 of Griffins, which is the right-hand turn after the first long straight, all the way through to Forest Elbow, where Johnny Allier just comes through a few seconds ago, then you have to tow immediately if you're blocking the track, because what we don't want to see is a car park up the mountain, and I'm sure the drivers that get caught behind it wouldn't like to see either. Of course, it's easier said than done. If you're sort of riding the adrenaline in the middle of that track, it's so easy to just sort of forget that and desperately try and get back onto the circuit. James T. Armstrong's commented in Twitch chat. He was on for a 2:04 and then got a 0x over the hill. So that's exactly what we're talking about, Trev, wasn't it? It's so easy, just that one slight mess up and you've lost your qualifying time.
Yeah, you know, entry to one corner slightly off, it throws you out for the next corner. Clip one of, like, you know, all you got to do is clip that tiny little bit of grass. I can't remember exactly which turn it is up there in that hill, but there's one little portion I found. Every time you hit that grass, you are guaranteed to slide into that wall. And the thing is, you're always on the throttle trying to keep as much momentum through that hill section as possible. You can win so much time, but you can also lose so much time through the sections.
Yep, that is very true indeed, Trev. It's such a difficult... I mean, all these tracks are tricky, but you need to maintain so much momentum here, and it's so easy to get something wrong. Currently we've got the 3 non-qualifiers. We've got the 2 Armstrongs who haven't set a time, and Anthony Franklin as well. So Anthony is currently on a lap, although whether or not he'll be able to finish that, I suspect he won't. So it looks like our grid is pretty much set. I don't believe they're going to get any time at the end of the 8 minutes to finish the lap they're on, which is the difference you get with the open qualifying. So for those of you who've watched this in the F3, they get the countdown after 0-0. They can continue setting their final lap time, which has led to some very, very tense final bits. Trev, would you like to run us through the starting grid for the sprint race?
Yep, so we've got Mark Baxter-Jones in P1, Johnny Elliott in P2, followed by Mark Hornby and Kane Crawford in P3 and P4. Then we've got Matt Cox and Dan Bavey in P5 and P6, Stuart Brown in P7, Mark Johnson P8, Stephen Kershaw in P9, Vance Briggs P10, and then on the next row we've got Martin Rendell in 11th and Oliver Carwine in 12th, followed by Stephen Masters in P13, Stephen Hughes in P14, Michael Rowe P15, Paul Stout in P16, P17 for James Armstrong, followed by Rob Armstrong in P18 and followed up by Anthony Franklin in P19.
Should be a good race. It's quite a tightly packed grid today, as we're just waiting for the last few cars to grid up. We've seen a few times in the Porsche Cup, there are a couple of drivers leave it until the very last second to get going, which can lead to some very interesting pressurised waits. It's apparently not deliberate. I've asked a few of the chaps who've done it in the past. It's more of a panicky last second decision on setups, because this is an open setup series, which I think, again, we're going to see some interesting setup philosophies going through the hill here. Who's gone for top speed, who's gone for security, and who is going to make that work as we're waiting for our last car to line up on the grid. Kane Crawford in 4th, we're waiting for. As you can see, Mark Baxter-Jones on the right of the screen there. On the left, if you are Mark Baxter-Jones, he's going to have the inside line into, well, the appropriately named Hell corner, turn 1. So he'll be hoping that he can get a decent launch. As we've got a few flickering cars. Michael Hornby, has he potentially gone back to the pits as we wait for the lights to go out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the final round of the Porsche Cup is go. And it does look like Mark Baxter-Jones has got a pretty safe launch. He's got Johnny Elia just behind him. He'll be able to take the best line into turn 1. Looks like so far everyone's made it through cleanly, as we are now heading up the hill towards Griffins. That is a huge gap for Mark Baxter-Jones already, 1.2 seconds. He'll be delighted as Kane Crawford's launched all the way up into second. He's got ahead of Elia. Although they'll be challenging each other into Griffins here, and Elia's got the inside line as there's a train of cars forming behind them. Who's going to get the advantage as we come through into turn 3? And it looks like Johnny Elias won that place back from Crawford, and is Hornby going to be able to take advantage of the compromised line? Mark Baxter-Jones is sailing off into the lead though. Can he keep that car on the track though? Cold tyres. Johnny Elias back up into second. You're not going to see any overtaking manoeuvres here, hopefully. It's too narrow, and you don't want to lose out that much time. It does look like everyone else has got away safely so far, as Elia is maximising the space available to him on the track there. He does not want Crawford getting back past him there, but he'll be desperate to try and keep up with Baxter-Jones. That gap is now up to 1.6 seconds. He is flying at the moment, but there's still plenty of time to go. We have this is not over yet. Elijah just needs to keep that car on the track. These guys all need to keep the car on the track. James Armstrong, he is currently in 14. He's made 3 places up, but he's got Stephen Masters ahead of him now. He'll be really desperate to get ahead, but you don't want to be doing it through Skyline and Dipper here. We're going to wait until you get to Forest Elbow, get that good exit, and nail him on the way down to the chase.
Certainly.
Yeah, Trev, what do you make of the opening few stages so far?
So far, it's been very clean. It's good. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens after they, getting under a few laps. The fuel starts to burn off. People start to find their feet. The nerves sort of calm down after the first couple of laps, and you sort of start to know who your targets are going to be and where you target finishes. Obviously, everyone wants P1. It's not always possible. Sometimes you've got to set your sights and go, I'm going to try to beat this person, and set that's your target.
Look like, yep, James Armstrong has got the move on Steve Masters done, as we had a car off the track there. I believe that was Mark Johnson who's gone off the track. He's now down to 12th. He's lost 4 places on the opening lap with, and he's now tussling with James Armstrong by the looks of it. So it's all action. It's an interesting circuit where we're going to see all of the sensible overtaking moves are going to be happening on these 2 main straights, and then you've got to really hope, for the sake of the other drivers, no one tries anything too silly through the mountain. That's just a case of trying to keep these incredibly tricky cars under control. As we're following Mark Baxter Jones here, he on the second half of that lap, he had been closed a bit by Johnny Elia previously. The gap had come down to 1.2, but a purple final sector for Baxter Jones, and he has re-established that 1.5 second lead. It's now actually closing up towards 2 seconds, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. They've not had a huge amount of time to get get these cars too far ahead. You can see further through the pack, the gaps are very, very small throughout the field, and there's a pretty healthy mixture of fastest sectors. So Stuart Brown and Dan Batty are trading purple sectors, and they're down in 6th and 7th. But the closest 2 we've got at the moment, it looks like it is Kane Crawford and Michael Hornby, possibly, in 3rd and 4th. Yeah, so they've swapped places. That was Crawford, obviously, who had got up to 2nd on the opening lap. He's keeping Johnny Elia honest in front of him. But so far, we haven't seen any serious crashes. So these drivers have kept the cars pointing in the right direction. Is that a surprise for you, Trev?
No, it's not actually. It's one of those places you tend to know your limit, and you don't want to over push. I think most of the drivers have been quite conservative as they go through the hill section, knowing that if the person in front of them spins, they've got to react very quickly. You've not got a lot of room to move out the way if that person in front of you spins. Same if you spin as well. You haven't got much room or time to correct it. You've got to be very sharp with cat-like reflexes up in that section. I'm just looking at the timing board at the moment, and it looks like, from P10 through to sort of P14, we've got a massive cluster of cars that are very, very close to each other at the moment.
Yeah, we've got and Masters and Armstrong appear to have crashed. We might be able to go and have a look at that incident in a minute, but as you say, Trev, this train of cars from 2nd downwards, they're racing very closely, so it's coming into the chase and the chicane here. Let's see what happened. And Masters has just outbraked himself and gone off the track, and I wonder if Rob Armstrong behind him, is this on the re-entry? Do we see something? Oh, it's James Armstrong, apologies, and same corner, so perhaps he's just followed him through. Armstrong's just overtaking. Oh, that's on the exit there. So sort of classic James there. He pushes that car as hard as he can, and that is sometimes the consequence of that pushing hard, is that you can just go slightly wide on the exit of a turn if you're desperately trying to get it. And he's hit the wall, and that is a lot of damage. That's his car done. That is a starting at the back situation for the feature race for James Armstrong. He does enjoy his first to last challenges. He's got a pretty intense one coming up in about 20 minutes, that's for sure. As we are now back on board with Kane Crawford, who has been right in the middle of the action so far, as we have another look at what happened to James Armstrong. This is coming round the exit of Griffins. And that is a 2-car crash, and that will be, I think, who is that? That would be Mark Johnson. Yeah, Mark Johnson's been in the wars a bit as well. He's now down into 14th and dropping, so Steve Masters just gone past him as well. That's a damaged-looking Porsche. We've also lost Martin Rendell. Rendell's gone into the pits as well. Oh dear, you can see there that car does not want to get turned. He is now ever so slightly getting in the way of people, but as we were talking earlier with the tow rule, he's not really spun out, so he's well within his rights to nurse that car back to the pit lane. try and get it repaired, as that might be what Martin Rendell is trying to do as well, although he did have to tow, unfortunately for him. So that has promoted a few drivers up. So Rob Armstrong's now up to 15th. Anthony Franklin, who started at the back, is up to 16th. It just shows you the advantage of keeping it clean, as these front guys have all managed as well. Elia, Crawford, Hornby, these three have been bonnet to bonnet pretty much since the very start of the race. But I think the impressive thing here is Mark Baxter-Jones has not really been able to escape their clutches by that much. He's only 2 seconds ahead. Although, as I say that, he has just set a fastest lap of 2:06.58, which is nearly a full second quicker than Johnny Elia behind him. So that last lap, Baxter-Jones has started to just maybe turn the crank a little bit and just see if he can get a little bit of breathing space. Do you think that's going to help him do a bit better job? Oh, as we see, is Crawford going for a move here on Elia, and he's got the inside line. And I think Elia's let him have that to an extent, really. You don't want to be fighting these moves that hard. Crawford really maximising the exit there, nearly into the wall. He's not managed to imitate James Armstrong, though. He's kept that car going. And now Elia is under a lot of pressure from Hornby, with Matt Cox now joining the battle and Dan Batty behind them. There is a lot of action to cover here. So let's see if these guys can keep it safe through the mountain. Actually, Johnny Elia, it looks like, might have been holding Crawford up a bit. And yep.
That was very close.
I think Elia has tapped the wall there. I think he did tap the wall, and he's lost a bit of pace. And it looks like Hornby's managed to get past him. Will Matt Cox be able to do so too? And not yet. That car can be repaired, and obviously the virtual mechanics will be a bit cross because they've now got some work to do in the 5-minute warm-up for later. That's assuming he doesn't take any more damage in the remaining 5 laps, of course. As we now go to Matt Cox, we're going to follow it from him for a bit, I think, and see what this looks like as you're trying to chase Johnny Elia, who started in second. He's still doing pretty well, but he's under so much pressure at the moment from pretty much every driver that comes up behind him.
He certainly is.
Trev, do you think that Cox is going to be, he's one of the organisers of this league, is he going to want the bragging rights to try and get on the podium here?
I certainly think he is, and I think he's just going to keep putting that pressure on the drivers ahead. He's driven stellar all season. To be honest, everyone has. I just can't somewhat have a feeling that no one's going to be able to pick these P1 off of Mark.
It certainly looks like he is flying. He's just set a not quite so quick lap. He was half a tenth down on his previous lap, but you don't need to push so much here. As we see Vance Briggs and Oliver Carwadine, I believe that is, going side by side into Murray's and onto the straight line. Number 25, that's actually Stephen Kershaw, so that's Kershaw and Briggs. And Carwadine is just tucked in just behind them, looking for an advantage here. Is he going to be able to take either of these two cars where they're going to have a compromise line into turn 1? That is quite close, as Kershaw hangs it round the outside. That's Vance Briggs. But we've now got two banks of 2 here as we're coming up the hill. The inside line there. So Briggs is on the outside. He's got the position. He's not got the inside line. Who's going to outbrake who? And Briggs, so far, looks like he's got that move done. So he's up 2 from his starting position of 10th. He's now in 8th. Kershaw's now at Carwadine and Steve Hughes behind him for company. So you can see these sort of mini trains have been forming throughout the field. But that is another nice and clean overtake done through Murray's there, Trev. That's been, like you've been saying, this has been a very clean race so far, hasn't it?
It certainly has, and the margins are very tight up in this hill section, so you're going to want to sort of be behind someone. If you're going to be behind someone, you want to know that person in front you can sort of trust, and sometimes you might actually be better off sort of just trying to follow someone, and then, like as you said earlier, just push on the exit down to that long run. You can pick up a tremendous bit of speed if you can get that final exit out of the hill section just absolutely spot on. Very
true, and it sounds like Steve Masters has crashed as well. He's dropped all the way down to 16th. Are we hopefully going to be able to see a replay of what happened to him? Yep, so we're going to go to it now. So he's all on his own, so he's pushing. He's just going to the wall there. It's an easy wall to hit, just slightly understeered out, and that is his sprint race pretty much over. Even if he can get that car repaired, he's not really going to be able to fight anyone else's position. It's just a case of keeping that car out there, and maybe he'll be able to make a few more places up if someone else has the same problem. Because he is now 25 seconds off he's about 45 seconds off the lead. He's 7 seconds behind the next car, which is Anthony Franklin, who, again, Armstrong and Franklin there, they're just keeping it nice and clean at the back there. They've already both made 4 places up, so they can be very pleased with their race so far. Not over yet, though. We've still got 3 and a bit laps to go for these guys, as we're following at the moment this is the Kershaw battle. with Carradine and Hughes. The three of them are still neck and neck. They're really, really close. And we're going to switch over and have another look at the other main battle currently on the field as we go to the Crawford has pretty much left these guys for dust as well. Hornby is now ahead of Elia, and Cox is in fifth behind the two of them. Dan Batty, who is the other main contender for the championship with Mark Baxter-Jones, he's back in sixth, kind of running his own race at the moment. He's not got a huge amount going on either in front or behind him. This is the sort of the main. You'd think with the three cars fighting with each other, you'd think they'd be compromising each other's time, but he can't really close that gap. He's still a second and a half behind Matt Cox here in fifth. But like you've been saying, Trev, we're hopefully not going to see too many aggressive moves, especially in the sprint race round the mountain section of Bathurst, because there's just so little to be gained from doing it when the car in front could probably just take you back again on either of the two main straights.
Yeah, 100%. The risk always does not outweigh the reward for trying to get through past someone in this hill section. Obviously, if someone's had to take a slow down, or they've gone off track and they've trying to rejoin, get round them nice and easy. But in the tow of another car, it can be very difficult. There's quite a tight line through there. You haven't really got a lot of room that you can move off the line going through some of those corners, and you want to get that draft, but going through the corners, in that draft, you're going to be compromised. You're going to understeer, and as we saw earlier, it's very hard to overtake through there. A small bit of understeer can drag you into that wall when it's race over.
Indeed, and I think we've lost Paul Stout as well, because he's gone to the pits too, and that leaves us with 14 cars on the track. So again, Armstrong and Franklin at the back. I'm going to keep mentioning the two of them because they've had a very clean, tidy race, and they're just making place after place, as we see here, an overtake through the chase. This is the Hughes-Kershaw-Carwadine battle. And at the moment, Carwadine is coming out on top in the number 80 car. The number 20 of Steve Hughes there has got the inside, but he's just outbraked himself. And that has allowed Kershaw back through. It's so easily done there, especially, you've not had that many braking opportunities in the lap. Perhaps you're a little bit unsure of exactly how much to brake there, especially with the other cars around you there. And yeah, that's that battle for that three people battle has now sort of become just Carwadine and Kershaw, as we're back up to third, fourth, and fifth here with Hornby, Elia, and Cox. Elia's got Cox right behind him here. It's actually Hornby is beginning to catch up with Crawford a bit. They're setting identical lap times pretty much. They both set the same fastest lap, and their last lap were about a tenth between each other as well. So Crawford and Hornby matching each other, but Elia and Cox just behind them, neck and neck. Is Cox going to be able to line up a move on Elia as we come down through Skyline and the Dipper in a minute? Obviously, you don't want to be doing the move here, but you've got that nice long straight after it. We'll see if they can do anything.
It's all about the exit. All
about the exit, and it's a very deceptive corner there as well, turn 18, because it just tightens that little bit, and it depends on the car.
He's lost a bit of momentum there.
That will be frustrating for him because he's been so close all the way through the mountain, and on the one corner that you really desperately want to get perfect, he's just ridden the wall a bit. Although perhaps the weight loss of losing that wing mirror, maybe that will help him in the last two laps. Maybe he can get a bit of extra speed.
Yeah, a small bit of weight reduction there. You don't need them, to be honest. Just take them off anyways.
It will just, looking at the car behind you, it just distracts you really. Anything to let you focus on your own race can only be a help. And we saw this back in Belle Isle, where I don't think any cars had any wing mirrors surviving by the end of that, to be honest. But also focusing here on Mark Baxter-Jones, he's had a very clean, very lonely race really, and he's just been churning out these quick laps. He's still doing low 207s. Michael Hornby's actually gone quicker than that on the last lap, but he is too far behind to do anything about it, and there's a Kane Crawford in the way. He might well have had the assistance of the draft to be able to go quicker, but Hornby is the currently quickest driver on the circuit, although the fastest lap does belong to Mark Baxter-Jones, and he is a good 4 tenths quicker than anyone else in terms of fastest lap with a 2:06.58. So he's on the final lap of the sprint race now. He's got a 4-second cushion. He's just going to take it nice and easy. You do not want to lose out on what would be prime real estate start position for the future race. So Kane Crawford is going to have to really hope he can keep the attentions of Hornby, Elia and Cox as they are closing back up a bit. The pressure that Kane Crawford's going to be feeling here is going to be immense because you want that front row start.
You certainly do. And being in that position is such a momentous benefit on lap one, and especially with turn one, going up into that hill section, you don't want to have someone in front of in front of you if you can help it. You can be very, brakes are very much cold at that point, and you can very much underestimate how much force you're going to need in that section, clip the wall, and you can do some damage, not only to yourself but others behind you.
It's very true, and as James Armstrong saying in Twitch chat, it is so hard to overtake here, so the next best thing you can do is keep it clean. We've got 306 Rally is supporting Kane Crawford, so your boy is going to be coming home in second at this rate. He's got a nice tidy gap as we come down towards the chase, unless he does something silly into turns 21, 22, and then Murray's is 23. It's looking like Crawford's going to have a very creditable second place finish for this sprint race, as we are here with Mark Baxter-Jones coming through these last few corners. About as tidy a race as you could hope for from our championship leader. So long as he doesn't get the commentator's curse and outbreak himself into the final corner, he'll be coming around to take the sprint race victory. Sadly for him, this doesn't actually mean anything in terms of points. It just means he's going to be on pole position for the feature race in a few minutes. And that is ably done by Mark Baxter-Jones, with Kane Crawford just behind him with 4 seconds gap. And then we have got just a few more behind them. So no one in the last few laps has crashed. So if we look through at the timing screen, yeah, it's the Armstrong and Franklin have made up the most positions with 5. Mark Johnson, the biggest loser there, where he'd started in, so he finished 17th and he lost 9 positions. My mental maths is failing me. I believe that means he started in 8th. Yes. So Trev, you're smarter than me there. You've worked it out a lot quicker than I was managing. So he'll be very frustrated, Mark, because that was a very good qualifying result for him to come 8th, and it's just one of those very unfortunate things. Even the most talented drivers can go off at Bathurst, especially when you're pushing. I mean, you look at the sort of the casualty list of drivers that didn't finish the race, and it's a list of very talented drivers, quite frankly. But they've got it all to work for. As we go into the 5-minute warm-up, so these drivers can just have a nice, relaxing poodle around the mountain, just to calm down after that sprint race, get themselves ready for the feature race. So we'll hopefully have a look at the results of the sprint race in a minute, which will double up as our grid for the evening. While we wait for those, we can plug a few things. So the cameras tonight have been brought to you by TrackCams 22. So all the lovely views of Mount Panorama are thanks to them, and of course our broadcaster in the background. We've got Sean Cranley Swash on cameras. We can plug a few of our links. So of course you can throw us your Twitch Prime if you're interested in that. You can follow us on Twitch if you're not already. Follow us on YouTube if you're watching us there, or if you're watching us on either, feel free to go and follow us on the other one if you haven't done that yet. Obviously, feel free to comment. We'll read your comments out if we get a chance. You can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/IRUK_team. We've also got an Instagram, and we're on Facebook as well. If you'd like to join the Discord community, if you're based in the UK, just have a chat with one of the admins at Twitch, or send us a message on Facebook. We can get you an invite link. We've got quite a few leagues running. Obviously, we've got GT3 Season 4 coming up next season. Are you looking forward to that, Trev?
I certainly am. It's, I did Season 2. That's brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Doing Season 3 at the moment. Again, really enjoying that. It's been an awesome season. We actually run some GT3 stuff in Friday Fun this week, and that was quite enjoyed by many in there. So it's good. Just definitely looking forward to the GT3 race coming up.
Yeah, it should be good. And we've got a few more races coming up. We'll go through them at the end of the stream as well. But just while we've got your attention, we've got the Radicals. The final round of the Radical League is at the Nordschleife on Thursday evening. Is anyone going to be able to dethrone Lee Aberdeen? I would say, based on the historical results of the season, the answer is no. But the Nordschleife is an incredibly fun track in the Radical, so it'd be awesome if you could go and join us there. The next round of the GT3 Season 3 League is Montreal, which is next Sunday, the 5th of September. And we've also got TCR GT4 League starting. So again, check that out on the Discord if you're interested in doing that. It's going to be our first sort of multi-class championship, I believe, unless my brain is completely gone, with the TCR and the GT4 cars running there. We've got quite healthy sign-ups already, but the more the merrier. Always happy to see more drivers in our leagues. And Trev, I thought it'd be quite interesting if you could do a plug for Friday Fun if you like.
Yeah, so like I say, we did the GT3 stuff last week. What we tend to do on Friday Fun is go out of all normality. We've done some crazy races. We've had one car with lights, one car with no lights, going around in the pitch black. Bit of teamwork. We do cops and robbers. That's quite fun. We take some crazy cars to crazy tracks. We've done, I think one of the other best ones we've done was we took the IndyCar round the oval circuit with a 1x limit, caused you to have a 40-second pit every time you had a 1x, and it was actually one of the cleanest oval races I've ever seen.
Imagine if they did that with something like British touring cars. I think you'd completely lose the spirit of that. But certainly within iRacing, anything that makes the racing cleaner is going to be strongly welcomed, I would suggest. We've had a few more comments. So we've got Slim Boy Win, which I suspect is Colin Win, saying IR UK Radical League is the best. The man speaks the truth. It's an incredible league. I believe we'll be running it again next season. I've personally really enjoyed running the car, although it is ever so slightly disheartening to have the aforementioned Mr. Aberdeen just show up and be about 3 seconds a lap quicker than everyone else and make it look incredibly easy. But we've had some pretty good battles throughout the league there, and we've had pretty good battles throughout all of the leagues here. And so I think the championship implications for tonight with Baxter Jones, he'll be on pole for the feature race. He's got a pretty healthy cushion back to Dan Bathy, and I would say Bathy didn't look to have that much pace compared to the top guys today. He was finished 13 seconds behind in that last race, which is, that's nothing to be sad about for sure. But if he wants to overhaul that points difference, he's basically relying on Baxter Jones having a much less clean race in the feature race, as we can have a look at the championship standings, hopefully. We've just got 30 seconds to go until the feature race now, so they've not got much longer left. Yep, so we've got Baxter Jones is in the lead there. He's got that 73-point cushion, but of course it's double points for tonight, so that does not mean he is completely secure, but we won't know until the end of the race what's quite happened there. Obviously, if Baxter Jones finishes ahead of Dan Bathy, then we know who's won the championship, unless something very, very suspicious happens. Who knows? Maybe Michael Hornby's paid off the admins. We'll find out towards the end, I suspect.
And I must admit, not even discrediting all the way back into Anthony Franklin in P21. Looking at the points, with the extra 300 points, there's a possibility that even he could get P3 on the podium here.
Yep, there is plenty to fight for, as it looks like the cars are going to start gridding up any moment now. So we're going to have... So Crawford will be very pleased with himself. He started on fourth for the sprint race. He's got himself onto the front row here. Is he going to be able to get a similarly good launch this time? And that could be perhaps the main danger for Mark Baxter Jones, is we've got someone who is a proven strong starter alongside him. Not that Elia or Hornby are not strong starters, but we saw in the last race Crawford absolutely blitzed off the line. So we don't know really how Baxter Jones will cope with any pressure around this track, because we've not seen him under any pressure yet on this track. Tim Cox has highlighted a message in Twitch, which is Rolands, will you be singing the Baxter Jones song if he wins the league? Well, I
think you should.
Turnabout is fair play after I peer pressured Tim into doing it all the way back in Hockenheim. That was, I believe, round one. That was a long old time ago now. That would have been 14 weeks ago, I believe. And Colin is helpfully peer pressuring in the session. It means Mark Baxter Jones has also got himself a cheer squad now, as the lights are going out and we are go. And that is a strong launch for Baxter Jones and an equally strong launch for Crawford, but he is not going to be attempting anything into turn one unless he gets incredibly good braking done. He is not, so that is 2 races out of 2 with a clean start for Baxter Jones, as it looks like everyone else in the background is also coming through cleanly. But that is an absolute sea of cars coming up the hill, you can see there. It's amazing really to think all of them have got through turn one safely. But yeah, again, Baxter Jones, carbon copy of race one. He is just cleaned through, and as he comes through into Griffins, is anyone going to, on turn one, have any fun time with the wall there? I see, yeah, we've got one car there. Is that Cox? Believe going quite wide, compromised his exit.
That was Cox, yeah.
He's now got the number 92 or 91 of Dan Bathy alongside him. Bathy's going to be desperate to get ahead as much as he can to try and keep Baxter Jones honest. Rob Armstrong, it looks like, has had an issue. He's down 6 places and is at the back now. But Mark Baxter Jones has got away cleanly, and yeah, Cox of our top guys, he is the closest to the car in front of him with Elia, but barring anything silly, we're not going to see any, well, hopefully we're not going to see anything too silly. There's just some very different closing speeds there, and Armstrong got hit from behind. I would assume that it would be Mark Johnson. They were very different closing speeds there. Pretty tricky to tell who was. There might just be a racing answer, really, racing incident there, really. Especially on lap one on cold tyres. you do need to be mindful of the cars around you, but it's easier said than done. It's very easy for me to say that up in the commentary booth when I don't have to worry about braking points myself. As we are now coming down the hill, everyone is pretty much in single file currently. They know they've got quite a few laps to go. You don't want to be doing anything silly on lap 1 because you've still got 14 laps or 13 laps after this, where anything could happen really. What you don't want to do is crash out and burn on lap 1 when you've got so much extra time. You've got these straights another 13 times, so that's when you want to make the overtaking opportunities. Currently we're looking at Anthony Franklin here. Oh, that is someone not braking very well. Paul Stout that was. He's not the first one to do it tonight, and again lap 1 cold tyres. He'll be used to the warm tyres from the end of the last race, although actually he did crash out, so maybe it's that extra brake time. It certainly happened. I don't know how you find it, Trev, but I find if you have that extra 5-10 minutes out of the car, suddenly your braking points. Oh, so there was actually a touch there, and yeah, that's compromised. Actually, so everything we've just said there, that could completely disregard it. You can't really do anything at that point. You're a complete passenger. The balance of these cars is so precise.
It's like driving on a knife edge the entire time, and a little too much of any input in any sort of way that the car doesn't want, and you're going to fall off that knife edge.
It's exactly true. As we see James Armstrong here on the inside of Griffins, he's got the overtake done on Steve Hughes. Armstrong up from 19th up to 13th now. Yes, you say that's 6 positions, Trev. So he's doing a much better job of last to first than he did last time out, that's for sure. But it's still early days. Anthony Franklin looks like he'll be his next victim on that charge. But Steve Hughes is coming back at him, so it's not over yet. And there's Masters and Rendell keeping them company behind as well. Unfortunately for Armstrong, he's got a long old wait until the next safe overtaking opportunity. And let's hope he doesn't try and force anything through here. What's going on? Nope, they're still...
James is on that bumper, isn't he?
He really is. He's about as close as you can possibly get. Rendell's fallen back a bit from them. Stuart Brown, it looks like, has had to jump to the pits. He's had an incident. So he'll be a bit gutted as well. As we're coming down the mountain now, bit of a lock-up there. That's a bit scary. Armstrong's been very patient here so far. Is he going to get the exit he wants to be able to take Franklin down through towards the chase? That does look like a pretty solid exit. Is he going to be... He's already halfway alongside. We've still got plenty of straight to go, and he's going to have the outside line as we go into the chicane. But of course you've got that slight kink at 20 to get through first. Is he going to manage to negotiate that safely? So far it looks like he has. And is Franklin? I think Franklin is just going to make sure Armstrong has that position. There's no point pushing the answer too hard there, really, because we know Armstrong is one of the faster drivers, pretty much in the Discord. Quite frankly, I'm still traumatised by season 1 radicals. Quite frankly, where he was season 1's Lee Aberdeen. He's not been able to replicate that success so far, but he's now up to 11th. Michael Rowe in 10th is his next victim, or Rowe himself. He's had a pretty quiet race so far. But if you go by iRating, he's the lowest rated iRating driver on the field today, but he's very creditably up into 10th at the moment, having been in 12th at the start of this race. He is doing a very solid job so far, and is not someone that we've mentioned a huge amount yet. So Michael Rowe in the white car with the red stripe there, the number 35, is about to experience the quite frankly terrifying James Armstrong in the mirrors sensation, which I think a few of us have been there before. The Franklin Hughes Masters Rendell battle is also heating up quite nicely, but it's also, if you can see on the timer screen on the left, Baxter Jones, Crawford, Hornby, Elia and Cox are all neck and neck as well. Baxter Jones has got a little bit of a gap there, but he's setting the fastest up again. He's done a 6.8, which is 0.3 quicker than Crawford in second. Crawford is being kept very honest by Hornby so far. Hornby is the second fastest on the track, but you can just, it's pretty incredible from all these drivers really. They've kept it very safe so far. We've not really seen too many incidents. There was obviously that lap 2 turn 2 incident with the outbraking. And as I'm trying to do the commentator's curse there, as we potentially see Rendell has had a crash there too. And Anthony Franklin's gone too, so we've now lost 3 drivers from this feature race. So I think Brown's the one that's lost out the most. He was up into 7th. Oh, and yeah, coming down the hill there, it looks like we've had quite a few drivers get involved in an incident. And it looks like Johnson's managed to get past Paul Stout while we've been watching. Actually, Paul Stout's had to go to the pits too. So we're now down to, that's 4 drivers we've lost as we're on board. Oh dear. And yet, I don't really think Rendell could have done a huge amount here. It does look like he was just sort of caught out in an incident that had already been ongoing there, which looks like it was Brown, Franklin, and then Stout must be the other cars involved in that, because they are all now towed to the pits. As we are on board with Rendell from that incident, so let's see what happened from his cockpit. Yeah, there's just really nothing he could do there. The spinning car, the number 11 of Anthony Franklin, we don't know what caused that contact. Again, it was probably something to do with Stuart Brown or Paul Stout. And this is Hornby and Crawford. They are going neck and neck up the hill towards Griffins, and it looks like Hornby has got that move done before the corner even, so that's some very good drafting. He would have got a very good exit out of turn 1 there as he just blinks back into existence. With Johnny Elia is now right behind, so this is pretty much carbon copy of race 1, where whoever's been in second or third, once the overtaking manoeuvre has been done, they've then got the guy behind them for company immediately, so there's no let up on the pressure. But again, this is making Mark Baxter Jones's job easier and easier. He's now got a 2-second gap with 10 and a bit laps to go. This is obviously far from done. Stephen Masters is into the pit, so he was perhaps involved in that incident we were seeing replays of as well. But Mark Baxter Jones, he's got that 2 and a bit second cushion now. He is looking very comfortable so far with Dan Batty down in 6th. Batty is at the back of this chain. We're going to have a look at Masters and see why he was going into the pits. He's already damaged, so he must have been involved in that previous incident. That is not a happy looking Porsche. And he has had to go to the pits to get that repaired. And I think it's worth his time coming back out, because he's in P15. If none of the other 4 drivers in the pits are going back out, although Martin Rendell somehow is just overtaken Brown and Stout in the pit lane, so something's going on with the timing there. I think they're all stationary still. So Masters still, we've seen it before. We had the heat race at that was the Race of Champions, the heat racing at Hockenheim, where we had some pit stop shenanigans, as we can see there. Crawford and Elia. And Crawford's taking a very interesting line. He seems to have got away with it, because Elia is still behind him currently, but he is desperate to get past. He's going to try something up the inside here into Murray's. But there's a bit of contact there, and close. Is Cox going to take advantage? Oh, it looks like we're going 3 wide almost. And no, Crawford's got away with that. Hornby's up into second. He's long gone now as well by the looks of it. Is there going to be contact in turn 1? It doesn't look like there is. Yep, and Slim Boy win in chat. So Colin is saying Johnny's going to get Kane. So far, it's not happened. Although Kane is dealing with the pressure very well. He's going to hope that Elia and Cox behind him, they keep each other busy, because like we saw with Baxter Jones earlier, it's just going to lead to him being able to get away. And it actually looks like now Hornby is ever so slightly trying to catch up to Baxter Jones. That gap is staying pretty stationary at 2 seconds. Although there's a lot of green sectors for Hornby, so you know he's going a bit faster. Baxter Jones has got no green sectors. So yeah, Hornby, he's going to want that final race win, because it's a lot of points on offer with the double points. He wants that win. And yeah, we'll see if he can manage it. We'll have to see what happens. We've still got plenty of time to go. Trev, what are you making of this race so far? Has it been keeping you busy?
It certainly has. It's been a brilliant race, and you know, we're getting some support on the Twitch stream from Paul Busby for Coxie here, saying go on Coxie. And you know, Colin has been saying that Kane's driving an absolute blinder, and I can 100% agree with him.
Yeah, it's been very controlled so far, and we've decided while you were just away for a sec, Trev, you did miss quite a big crash that involved 4 cars by the looks of it. Paul Stout has actually managed to get back out, and he's just he's a lap down, but he's right at the back as Oliver Carwadine, it looks like, has gone off track. He's just ahead of Michael Rowe here, but it looked like he just lost a few places. James Armstrong, while we've been distracted by all of the goings on, he is now up to 8th position. As you see him here with Stephen Kershaw, is this another overtake? James Armstrong is now up to 8th by the looks of it. And Dan Bathy has got past Cox. Cox has possibly had an incident because Vance Briggs, and then these guys are all going past him. So there, you can just see him there as we just go to the replay. This is what happened to Matt Cox. He's now down to 10th, and he's just lost it all on his own coming into turn 21, and he's facing the wrong way, which is going to cost him even more time as he tries to correct that. It'll be very frustrating for Cox. He was running very well, but he's now down in 10th. Yeah, he's lost 5 places from where he started. James Armstrong is now up to 7th, and he's got Vance Briggs for company just in front of him. This has been well, he's got Kershaw just behind him keeping honest. I think that's been his most recent victim, but Armstrong has had a much more successful feature race here than basically any time I've previously commentated on him. And it sounds like I'm desperately trying to give him the commentator's curse here as well, but so far so good for James Armstrong.
No, I don't think we've had commentators curse. I think we seem to have the Twitch stream comment curse, unfortunately, for Coxie today. But no, James has been driving a stellar drive since the beginning. To come up 12th position so far in the race, and we've still got a fair few laps ahead of us. So, he's got a chance to make it up into the podium places here. If he keeps driving like he is.
And with the battles we've got going up ahead, there's still plenty of things that could happen. But I think it's just as much as anything, it's a league organiser curse. I still remember Nick Allen, the very first race of Radical League, getting punted off. Nathan Willoughby, who's organising our F3 League currently, is not having a good time of it considering his pace. I don't believe Nathan's even finished a race. I've watched him accidentally kill another driver at Spa, which he'll have been wishing we had F1 conditions from today for that, so that it didn't go ahead the way that was going. But we're on with James Armstrong at the moment, coming down the mountain. This is the first time he's really had some clean air, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of lap time he puts out. But again, as we saw in the sprint race last time out, and we saw particularly at Belle Isle, when James Armstrong gets a chance to push, he pushes maybe a little bit too hard and ends up damaging the car. But so far, so good for him. Again, I seem to desperately trying to curse him. I promise you, James, that is not what I'm trying to do. Is Dan Batty has apparently gone off track further up the field. Doesn't look like he's lost out in terms of positions. However, the gaps of the front guys, we've seen that big battle so far, and now there's no one within a second of each other except for Kershaw and Carwadine, who are just behind James Armstrong. You can see them in the background there coming through towards the main straight. We're halfway through the race. Well, not quite halfway through the race. We've still got 8 laps to go. We're on lap 7 of 14 now. Mark Baxter-Jones has just managed to eke that gap out a little bit more. He was 4/10 faster than Hornby on the last lap. As we're on with Dan Batty here, that chicane is beginning to catch people out more and more. I think it'll be a case of they're pushing harder and harder. Those fuel loads are getting lighter, and it's just ever so slightly easy to get the braking balance wrong as they go through there.
It certainly is, and as you say, the fuel's coming off, the cars are getting lighter, and you sort of somehow you're pushing so much and you're concentrating so much on getting as much time out of that straight as possible that you sort of kind of forget a little bit that you need to brake a little bit more and just a little bit sooner than what you have been.
I think that's exactly right, Trev, and I think as well it's hard enough in any car. Like, I struggle with it in the Formula cars, but then the Porsche Cup car here is just so delicately balanced. This is even on tracks with relatively kind configurations. Here at Mount Panorama, you think they've got all these different track cambers, all the different hills, some very tricky chicanes, and they're trying to do all that while going as fast as possible to make up these positions. It's quite frankly a testament to driver skill that we've seen as few incidents as we have today.
It certainly is. It's like a miniature version of the Nürburgring, again, which, this and the Nürburgring are two of those tracks that I would say that probably 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 on the difficulty scale in comparison to somewhere nice and easy, say Lime Rock or Summit Point Raceway. So yeah, it's
exactly true. And Colin Wynn now saying in chat that Dan needs a sacred coffee to keep him going. We'll just leave that comment in the air. I think another sort of shout out to Vance Briggs. I think 6th is one of his best races so far in this league. He's a quick driver. We saw him in Skippy season 1. He was one of the quicker drivers there, and he's not really had a chance to show it here as he's actually got past Dan Batty. I think Dan Batty's had another off, and we're probably going to see that in a second here while we're following Kershaw and Carwadine. That's 25 and 80. These two have been the closest on the track so far. I believe that's Dan Batty just ahead of them, so he had another off into the chicane. Let's go and see if we can have a look at that. Yes, we go to the replay. That will be... Oh no, this is into the final corner this time, and he's lost it under braking on the entry again. So I wonder if Dan Batty is just struggling ever so slightly with the balance of that car as the tyres are going off, because this is a longer race than the sprint race. If they've not done much practice on the longer races, then it can really throw your driving style a bit to the wolves, I would say. And the track temps are going higher. As Rob Armstrong has apparently also gone off track, so we're now actually down to 13 cars on the lead lap. So it's getting a quieter and quieter track now, as we'll go and see what happens to Rob Armstrong. We're just going to wait for the replay to go. Let's see what happens to Rob Armstrong. Oh, I think here we go. Here we go. Oh, so yeah, he's just spun at the chicane there. He'd mounted the curb maybe a little bit too much. And as we said at the ISREC 12 hour, you don't want to be taking too much sausage. They can damage these cars. He's done well to get that back on track, actually. That's one of the more stylish re-entries I've seen in a while. Rob, however, I believe then went straight into the pits because he's currently showing us repairing his car. So perhaps he's just decided that damage is making that car just a little bit too miserable to drive. And Carwadine as well looks like he's picked up a bit of damage from somewhere, so he's got Matt Cox behind him in 10th now. He's looking very ominous behind him there. The 710 car of Matt Cox as he pulls out so that he'll have the outside line as we get to the chicane. You can see Stephen Kershaw just ahead of them. That's another target for Matt Cox if he can get this move done. And he's done it nice and early before we've even got to the chicane. Nice and clean, as you say, Trev. It's exactly what you want. If you're the overtaking car, it's exactly what you want to do, quite frankly, because it means you've not compromised your corner. And to be honest, for the car being overtaken, it's kind of good as well, because, again, you're not worrying about going side by side into a corner.
No,
but you can see... Oh, yeah, sorry, Trev.
It's definitely, the easiest position to get an overtake done on the track. So, if you've got a chance to take a car there, go for it. It's an easy position.
Exactly, and just an update on our leaders. Mark Baxter-Jones has currently got a 3.5 second gap to Michael Hornby, and Kane Crawford's actually caught right up to Hornby. He's now nearly within a second of him. One of the closer clusters of cars on the track. I mean, of course, we've got the Kershaw, Cox, Carwadine. Three-way battle is looking like it's going to develop as Kershaw's been very compromised there. I think perhaps looking in his mirrors at Matt Cox trying to claw back some positions here. Unfortunately for Cox, he's reached the point of the circuit where any overtaking moves, as we've been saying, just really not worth the risk. So he's going to have to be very patient. Can he be as patient as James Armstrong was earlier in one of these battles? We'll just have to wait to find out. So coming up the hill here through this into turn 7, 8 and 9. So far he's right breathing down his neck, and I mean what you don't want to happen here is you don't want to pressure the guy into a mistake that's going to take your car out too, which is perhaps sometimes the danger of being directly behind a car like this. But Kershaw so far is driving very sensibly, just keeping that car nice and on the racing line. He's not doing anything too silly, he's not trying to outbrake himself. And we're going to come down these last few bits of the dipper, and are we going to see Cox taking a good exit here? They're taking slightly different lines, but I'd say Cox and Kershaw have taken pretty similar lines coming through there. We'll see if he's going to... Is he going to be able to get the draft on? You can see Carwadine and Hughes in the background are also pretty much identical in terms of their gap. So we're going to see a move from either of these two into the chicane. I would say they've both left it a little bit too late. You can see those cars really bumping. Oh, Cox is going for it on the inside. Is he going to get it slowed down in time? He has. Is he going to be able to defend the overlap? And he's done that as well. That is a very good overtake from Matt Cox there. He'll be very pleased with himself for that. That's probably been, I would say, the most skillful overtake we've seen today. But that has turned this into a 4-car battle now, with Carwadine and Hughes catching right up to the back. That's done Kershaw no favours whatsoever. We're now going to follow Michael Hornby in second. Kane Crawford's just looking on the inside, just letting him know he's there. I don't think he was seriously looking at the move there, but it is always a good idea just to try and put the car in front of you off. Hornby really trying to maximise the circuit without taking too much risk. That is the dilemma of this circuit, is balancing that, maximising the track for speed and balancing the risk that you're taking. If you look further back as well, James Armstrong has now caught up with Vance Briggs. He's within a second, so it'll be worth having a look at that in a few minutes perhaps if they get closer. But Crawford and Hornby are the closest two here, as it looks like Franklin has got past Rob Armstrong. That's because Rob Armstrong's in the pit, and Stout, Franklin, Masters and Rendell have all actually managed to get back out on track just to see if they can maybe make up some more positions. As we're now back with the sort of the battle for 8th, although I think Cox will be deciding he's home and dry and going far away. As we've got Kershaw, Carwadine and Hughes are the main 3 here that I think are more evenly paced. Michael Rowe back behind him in 12th. He's still just running his own race. He's doing all right. He'll want to make sure Mark Johnson can't catch up with him. But these 3, we've got the number 33 or that's number 33 of Vance Briggs. So he has now got James Armstrong right behind him. They're taking slightly different lines through this corner as well. Is James Armstrong's different line going to give him a better exit? I would say from here, it does look like he's got that slightly better exit, and Vance Briggs is just that bit too far behind the car in front to take advantage of the draft, I would say. That is not Johnny Allier in 4th. That is a lapped car. That is the number 10 of Stephen Masters, who's very kindly got out of the way nice and early. That is very nicely done by Stephen Masters. He knows he's not in these guys' race. He also knows he doesn't want to be letting them go past in all those shorter bits of the circuit. As we're now looking at Kershaw and Carwadine, they are neck and neck. Who is going to take the inside line here? Kershaw has actually managed to make the outside line work there, so Carwadine sort of not pressed it too hard there. He's braked nice and early. He's not tried to outbrake him because we don't want to have anyone go crash into another car. As what's happening here? This is Hornby and Crawford again now, side by side going into turn 2. He's sort of let him through pretty much there, has he? Yeah, Crawford's got through. And now we've got the...
now here. He's got a chance to put a bit of pressure on him, cause him to,
Yeah, and James Armstrong's also got past Vance Briggs, so we're seeing all the overtakes happening now. We thought that the leaders had all spaced themselves back out, but they've bunched back up again. As we're just having a slight technical difficulties here, let's see if we can see the overtake. Yep, it's just into the last corner there. I think James is one of the most comfortable late breakers, so he's completely fine taking that inside line there just to make sure he's got the gap. And look at the gap he's already made to Vance Briggs, and Vance is a quick driver, so that just again really speaks volumes to how comfortable James is in the car at the moment, that he's able to make that nearly second gap to Vance Briggs in half a lap. But I don't think James Armstrong, touchwood, is catching up with Johnny Elia in 4 laps with that 10-second gap. But quite frankly, a 5th place finish for James, if he can keep this car on the track and Vance Briggs can't come back on him. That's Matt Cox. Cox has spun it and he's had to tow. He's been hoisted by his own rule there. Very unfortunate. So he's just been pushing, I think, because he knows he's got the pace to try and catch up. Little bit of grass, little bit of curb, and a little bit of sausage, yep, and he's another victim of sausage tonight, Matt Cox. And he has unfortunately had to tow to the pits, and that has meant Paul Stout. This is vindicating his decision to go back out on track, because he's now up to 12th, despite being a lap down on everyone else. Michael Rose had to go to the pits as well, so he's potentially had an issue. So, unlike in the sprint race, where everyone was being very, very careful, there's points in this race, and double points at that. So, we've seen quite a lot of action, and we're seeing in Twitch comments Matt Cox has been straight into Twitch to say ouch. That cannot have been fun to be holding the wheel of that accident. We've got Paul Busby as well sort of reacting to it, and Colin Wynn is cheering on Stouty, which I'd like to think with that nickname that's got to be Paul Stout. We're going to go back over to Kane Crawford and Michael Hornby, because they are about as close as 2 cars can be on this circuit. However, unfortunately for Michael Hornby, he has just caught him at the wrong point, because we have not seen a single successful overtaking manoeuvre anywhere on the mountain today, and I suspect we could run for another 50 laps and we wouldn't see another successful overtaking move coming up here, because as we've been saying, it's just not worth the risk. But they're not the only close battle on the track, because we've still got this Kershaw, Carwadine, Hughes battle. Do you think we'll see any moves from perhaps Steve Hughes? He's been quite patient behind the 2 of these, Trev. Do you think we'll see anything from him with 2 laps to go?
Yeah, certainly. Stephen is properly gaining up on the back of these, and I think he's just biding his time. He's picking that point to know, he can get past him safely and cleanly. He's going to, I think, as they're going up into the hill section here, he's going to be putting some pressure on Oliver, and I'm hoping that they all get through nice and safely and can get Steve past, or at least try go for the attack on the down onto the run. Oh, and who's that come off track? Oh, it's Matt Markham moving out the way for him, luckily. So, try not to hold anyone up in this section. It's very hard to move out the way. I think
that was Stephen Masters again, who is going to win the award for fair play from tonight, because he has been very gracious with his blue flags.
He certainly has.
He's a man after my own heart, quite frankly. But yeah, we're following Steve Hughes here down the hill. Is he going to get an exit? The problem that Steve Hughes has got, unfortunately, is that Carwadine has got Kershaw's draft in front of him. So unlike most of the other moves we've seen so far, he's not going to be able to just sail through on the straight. If he's going to get anything done, it looks like he's going to have to try and do it under braking, which is a very brave thing to do indeed. But actually, if anything, I would say that Carwadine's closer to Kershaw to come through here, but perhaps not close enough to make a move. But let's not speak too soon, because they are getting very close into the chicane. They're all taking... No one's quite brave enough to go fully on the outside there, because they want to slightly defend that. All 3 going through in single file there. We've not seen a move this lap, but they'll have 2 more opportunities on that corner, plus 2 more opportunities into Griffins of turn 2, which is going to be their next real chance. Crawford and Hornby are also still neck and neck. Mark Baxter-Jones is having probably the easiest race of his life, quite frankly. I'll sprinkle that little tempt of fate there just to see if something will happen. But he's currently got 5.5 seconds. He's fastest lap, although Kane Crawford is 0.02 of a second slower for fastest lap. So Kane's really acquitting himself well here. There is 1 point for fastest lap. I suspect that's not going to affect the standings, as Sean has pointed out in our ear. As we see Carwadine here defending from Hughes. Is he going to make a move? No, we're not seeing a move into Griffins this time. So that's going to be another long wait through the mountain for Hughes, just being patient as he can. Carwadine is slightly being dropped by Kershaw. Not dropped enough that he can't take advantage of the draft, but it'll be weighing on his mind, I'm sure, as we come up through the hill. Also, a little shout out to Mark Johnson, who started in 17th and is now up to 11th. I believe he also had an off early in the race, so he's done very well to recover that car. And 11th place, I think, is going to be quite a big points haul for Mark if he can keep that on the track. He is quite a way behind this three-way battle, but if any of these three make a mistake, that'll be another position for him to make up. And with Paul Stout a lap down behind him, he's not really got anything to worry about from behind himself. At the moment, it's only Cox, Rowe and Rob Armstrong in the pits, so they're the only three that are currently not racing. I think Rob has fully abandoned that. He's had 11 minutes of repairs. I suspect that car is not able to continue, but Cox and Rowe, literally as I say that, Armstrong has left the pits, so clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. Rob Armstrong has got that car back on the track. Rob Armstrong is on 7 laps, so he's actually 3 laps behind anyone, but this does defend from Stephen Masters, Martin Rendell, who are going to be on the same lap as him, as Kane Crawford he's having to defend from Michael Hornby here. That's going to compromise his line, but Hornby has got a very, very good exit there, and he's going to have the inside line into Griffin. Well, no, he's not. He's had to tuck back into the draft. So Crawford's done very well, I would say, on a compromised exit to keep that car doing good speed. Coming up the hill into Griffins, what is going to happen between these two? Because this is the final lap. Only really one overtaking opportunity left after this. Crawford's got the inside line. Is he going to be able to hold it? Or has Hornby got the better exit? Because he's now going to be on the inside, but he's not got that car level with Crawford. Crawford has only got to defend really one more real overtaking opportunity. Of course, he could still lose it up the mountain, and Johnny Elia is keeping them honest, just behind in 4th. He wants that podium, and he's going to be close enough that Hornby can't just go for broke here, because there is still a driver right behind him. James Armstrong is very lonely now in 5th, but I think he'll be glad for a bit of lonely racing. We got Matt Cox in chat saying he's got 9 minutes of repairs left. He was hoping to do some rolling burnouts at the end. Unfortunately for him, that's not going to be possible. So yeah, Trev, what do you think is going to happen in this final lap? Anything, or are we going to see? I think Crawford's made a bit of a gap there.
Yeah, I think the best part here for Hornby is to just hold Johnny as much as he can. Just try to stop him. As you said, Kane's just pulled away a bit. There's not the guarantee that he can get him down into that last run of the final turns. So I think his best bet to retain the podium here is just going to be holding up Johnny as much as he can. But Mark
speaking of retaining the podium, as Sean's saying, he is. This is possibly the easiest racing that you'll ever find around Bathurst for anyone. He has absolutely dominated both the sprint and the feature races. He goes across the line to win both the round 7 of the Porsche Cup and the championship, flashing his lights in celebration. Johnny Elia just trying something on the inside, but not able to get anything on Hornby. Crawford coming through in 2nd. That is a very good 2nd place for Crawford. Hornby rounds out the podium. Elia with a strong 4th place. We've still got the battle going on here between Kershaw and Carwadine Hughes. This is Carwadine Hughes, though. I don't think Hughes is going to be able to make a move, but we don't want to speak too soon because there's still that final corner. There is still that damage on Carwadine's car, but he has done, quite frankly, brilliantly well to defend for basically the entire race. And he's managed to come through in a very creditable 9th place. And yet that doesn't look like we're going to see any more overtaking moves done, and there is no one left anywhere on the track that is close to anyone else, although as we see, Masters is also going to be crossing the line. He is a few laps down, with Rendell just a little bit behind him, and even Stuart Brown, who was one of our first crashers, he had 18 minutes of repairs and he's managed to get back out on the track, and I believe he will have finished. Otherwise he has got still about 2/3 of the track to get round, so I think Stuart Brown will be down. And are we going to see any of our drivers launch themselves over the hill? It'll be interesting to see if anyone's remembered to do that. We've only had a few cars have taken themselves off to the pit. We've still got Baxter Jones, Crawford, Hornby, Elia, Kershaw, Carradine, Stout, Franklin, Armstrong, Masters, Rendell and Brown are all still out on track. So it'll be interesting to see if these chaps are aiming to do that jump. I certainly think the front few are, although they are very gently going around the course now. And I have got a promise to fulfill to Tim Cox, who is already highlighting messages in the chat. So apologies in advance to everyone, but this is my own fault because I was the one that got Tim to sing in the first place. So here we go. Baxter Jones, calling Baxter Jones, Baxter Jones. You won now. Baxter Jones, calling Baxter Jones. Well done now. And that is the only singing you'll ever get me on any stream. Ever, and I apologise for anyone who had to hear that. We've got about 50 viewers, so that's 50 people who I've scarred for life. And please don't clip this. I can see Colin in chat is asking around. I'm asking for it now at this point. But we'll just wait for the last few drivers to come round. I think we've still got a couple of people on track. And it does look like they have tried. Well, certainly Baxter Jones, Crawford, and Hornby are all at about. Or if you look at SDK, they're about 14.9 laps in. So that sounds to me like they have tried to do a jump over the chase. And actually, if you look on the event camera, a lot of people have just come off track and then gone back on track, which sounds like a few Porsches have just gone for a bit of a jump.
Why not?
And Colin saying, "Don't give up the day job, Chris." Funnily enough, the day job is a library assistant, and we do sing to babies, but luckily babies don't remember things, so they keep coming back for more. And we're still waiting for the standings. But of course, Baxter Jones, we can pretty much confirm, is your champion for season 1 of Porsche. He's had a very consistent season, I would say. He has been right up the top. Him and Gavin Halls have really been the two drivers that have most consistently been fast. I think Gavin Halls has got more overall wins. He won 4 races, but he's not been able to make 3 of them. And even with the drop round, that just means he's not been able to contest the race. But every race that Gavin's not been at, I believe Baxter Jones has won. So, he's still a very creditable champion. And as we saw today, he has got pace in buckets.
It was certainly a race, wasn't it?
It really was.
I didn't see a single scratch on that car. That was, showroom, just literally rolled out the showroom straight into pole there. So, no, he had a brilliant drive. Really well deserved. Congratulations to him. We've got Alan posting in the Twitch here chat saying that your album deal's in the post. So
I think it might get lost in the post, I suspect.
It depends who's going to be delivering that.
I'm sure. Well, I'm probably one of those.
I think you'll be out of luck, and it will definitely be delivered.
Possibly. I mean, I might be one of those X Factor joke acts, perhaps, which is probably my place in the world. But that was. What did you make of your? Is this your first Porsche Cup race to watch, Trev? And what did you make of it?
No, this is my second. I commented on the Long Beach track.
Oh, of course you did. Yes.
Yeah. So no, it's been brilliant race to watch. Obviously, I've not seen all of them, but the ones I have seen have been absolutely amazing. The cars look very fun to drive, and I'm half tempted to join next season myself. So you might see me on the other side.
I will say good luck to all of our other drivers in that case. No offense, Trev. No, I mean, I tried this car. I bought this car. I tried it once or twice, and I've stuck to high downforce cars. There's a reason that you find me only in the F3 or the Formula Renault, and it's all the clutch that is high downforce. But it just shows you the skill of all these guys. It doesn't matter where they finish on the grid. To get this car around 14 laps of Mount Panorama, it takes a lot of skill. To do it quickly takes even more skill. So well done to our podium today of Baxter Jones, Crawford, and Hornby. And we'll hopefully see these guys again sometime soon. We'll just run through a bit of the post-season admin if we're maybe going to be able to get the standings up at some point. But we can just take you through again, like we were talking about earlier. We've got other championship races coming up soon. The Radicals will be at the Nürburgring Nordschleife on Thursday, the 2nd of September. If you're in the Discord, this is an open championship, so if you fancy a bit of fun in the Radicals, see if you can get yourself involved in that. Just join us in the Radical section of the Discord. GT3s will be at Montreal next Sunday. Tim Cox will be with you, and I assume James Parfitt and Ian Winchester will be joining him to take you there. That, I think, will be a very interesting race. I believe we've got 2 races left in that league, although this might be the championship finale. There's also the sign up for the TCR and GT4 League, which is on the Discord. If you're not a part of the Discord already and you're watching, get yourself chatting to one of our admins or mention us on our Facebook page, which is iRacing UK on Facebook. We are IR UK Team on Twitter. We're also on Instagram as IR UK _team. You follow us on Twitch or YouTube, or both. That would also be great. Lob your Twitch primes at us if you fancy doing that. We'd love to have you be a part of the community if you're based in the UK, or if you know people in the UK and you want to get involved. We love broadcasting these races, which we couldn't bring to you without the incredible skill of Sean Cranley-Swash behind the cameras, and also Track Cams 22 have provided these gorgeous angles of Mount Panorama this evening. And yeah, I believe that is everything for us this evening. So we can only say well done to Mark Baxter Jones again for his brilliant championship win. And we'll see you again soon. Good night.